Good day, teachers! Today, we will take a quick yet meaningful look into pivotal chapter in Philippine history, the Third Republic from 1946 to 1972, a time that marked our full independence from the United States and a national drive to rebuild from the ashes of war. Next slide. When President Manuel A. Rojas assumed office in 1946, he faced an overwhelming challenge wherein 80% of schools nationwide were either destroyed or badly damaged. With an annual budget deficit of 200 million pesos, the estimated 126 million pesos needed for educational reconstruction seemed insurmountable. But instead of stepping back, the Rojas administration leaned in because education was seen not just a need, but as the foundation of national recovery. Next slide. In October 1947, Rojas enacted Executive Order Number 94, changing the Department of Public Instruction into the Department of Education. This wasn't just a name change, it marked a shift in purpose. Education was no longer limited to basic skills, it became a tool for basic holistic nation building, focusing on teacher training, curriculum development, and stronger school administration. Next slide. It is followed by another key reform was Republic Act number 139, which created the Board on Textbooks. Why was this so important? After years of propaganda and biased materials during the Japanese occupation, this board ensured quality, accurate, and standardized textbooks free from ideological bias. This move not only improved learning materials but also helped cultivate a unified national identity. In just few short years, the Rojas administration laid down the building blocks for a resilient and future-focused educational system, proving that even amid financial hardships, investing in education is investing in the nation's soul.
So now let us move on to former LPG Quirino's term during 1948 to 1953. So when LPG Quirino became the president, the Philippines were already in ruins because of the World War II. So he focused on the reconstruction of schools and provisions of the educational system or programs in the Philippines, and because of the lack of educators, he improved the salaries of teachers and also authorized the release of funds to employ teachers. Now let us move on to his act, also known as the Republic Act 896, or also known as the Elementary Education Act of 1953. So this act, the Department of Education is hereby authorized to revise the elementary school system on the following basis. The primary course shall be composed of 4 grades, grades 1 to 4, and the intermediate course of 3 grades, grade 5 to grade 7. So pupils who are in the 6th grade of the time in this act goes into effect will not be required to complete the 7th grade before being eligible to enroll in the first year of the secondary school. So now let us move on to also one of his Republic Act 778, or it was enacted in June 21, 1952. So the Philippine School of Commerce is hereby granted full college status and converted the Philippine College of Commerce. So the purpose of the said college shall be to provide higher vocational, professional, and technical instruction and training in business, education, and commerce, and for special purposes to promote research, advanced studies, and progressive leadership in the field of business, education, and commerce. That is all for Elpidio Quirino's term, and let us move on to the next president.
During his term, there are several key laws that continue to influence our school up to this date. First is on June 16, 1954, he signed Republic Act number 1124, which created the Board of National Education with Senator Jose P. Laurel at the helm. This board aimed to develop a basic philosophy of education that would empower the Filipino masses. Then, on June 11, 1955, Republic Act number 1265 was passed. This made the daily flag ceremony mandatory in all educational institutions across the country. That schools were required to play or sing the Philippine national anthem with dignity and respect that is still continue up to this date. And perhaps one of his most historic contributions came on June 12, 1956, with the signing of Republic Act number 1425, known as the Rizal Law. That this law made it compulsory for all schools to include courses on the life, works, and writings of Dr. Jose Rizal. That ensures that every Filipino student understands the ideals of our national hero. Beyond legislation, Magsaysay's administration made major strides in expanding access to education. From 1953 to 1956, the number of public schools rose from 23,600 to 26,370, and the number of teachers grew from 91,665 to 104,250. He also introduced prefabricated school buildings, which is a fast and effective way to bring classrooms to rural areas. Thank you so much.
Now, let's tackle about Carlos P. Garcia and his contribution during his presidency. So, one of the key roles of Carlos P. Garcia was nationalism in education was strongly emphasized as part of his Filipino First policy. His administration promoted the integration of Filipino identity and culture of Filipino and into curricula and educational programs. These initiatives aims to instill pride in the nation's heritage and strengthen a sense of unity among the youth. The second one is the Filipino First policy. It was implemented to prioritize the economic interests of Filipino citizens over foreign investors. This policy encouraged local industry and supported Filipino-owned business to strengthen national economic independence. Garcia's administration also played a key role in the establishment of Southeast Asia Treaty Organization or the SEATO, promoting regional security and cooperation. And for the last one, it was the Act 5, 586, wherein it was passed to improve the quality of education in the Philippines. This law reduced the maximum class size from 60 to 40 pupils, allowing for better teacher-student interaction and more effective learning.
Now, let's take a look at the presidency of Diosdado Macapagal and what he accomplished during his administration from 1961 to 1965. When President Macapagal took office in 1961, the country faced a serious problem. A growing number of children were ready to learn, but there weren't enough classrooms. So what did the government do? Through the Department of Education, they opened 10,300 new elementary classes. That's a huge step in giving more children access to basic education, especially in underserved areas. This effort helped reduce overcrowding and brought learning closer to many communities. In 1962, the focus shifted towards enhancing the quality of education. The government began revising and developing the curriculum to better meet the ends of students and society. The goal wasn't just to get kids into school, but to make sure what they were learning was meaningful and relevant. By 1963, as the Philippines moved toward industrial growth, the education system also had to evolve. The government strengthened subjects like science, math, and vocational educations, which are the skills for essential modern industries. At the same time, they expanded in service training for teachers, helping them become better educators, especially in these technical subjects. In 1964, the spotlight turned to technical and vocational education. The goal was simple: prepare young Filipinos for jobs and help reduce unemployment. But it wasn't just about jobs. Next slide. The curriculum also began to include economic and social development themes, which helped students better understand their role in nation building and develop a stronger sense of civic responsibility and national identity. In Macapagal's finals year in office, the push for educational democratization continued. This meant working harder to provide equal access to education, especially for children in rural and marginalized communities. By the end of his term, the government had made real progress by expanding access to school, improving facilities and infrastructure, upgrading teacher skills, and modernizing curricula to match the needs of developing nation. During the Third Republic, we see a period marked by both ambitious reform and persistent challenges. Emerging from the devastation of World War II, the Philippines faced the monumental task of rebuilding. not just in infrastructure, but the very foundation of its future, which is education. Education was seen as a vital instrument for nation building, economic recovery, and social development. As a future teachers, we continue to carry forward that vision, which is striving to ensure that education serves as a bridge between generations, a tool for empowerment, and a pathway to a more just and equitable society.
That's all for the post-war progress rebuilding the education during the Third Republic, 1946 to 1972.